Joe Burns has been gone for a month on vacation. We ain't never called him. Wonder what that's about. And then the deputies get up there and say, where's the
Come on in here now.
Well, I told him today, I said, make
I'm human, I'm like your last.
That's a good round.
I mean, you can say, I know there's things the packet said, but they're on our email.
somebody else in now. Yeah, roll it in.
Maybe somebody might. No, something's gotta get out there. You're saying what everybody else is saying.
That's the problem.
Head ball. Take a shower, hit the ball.
The door's locked. You can only come in, you can never go out.
Heather told me to brought them chicks together. She told me, she said, there's a lot of kids in there. She told me, Monday, Tuesday. I said, I got some smaller peppers in there. This morning.
If I can have your attention, please.
That's not been a problem.
We'll we do have a public hearing tonight. This public hearing is in regards to some rezoning. This is rezoning of map 042, parcel 031, consisting of 2.4 acres from A1 to R2. And it's also a public hearing in regards to some changing in some sizes for some of our planning and zoning ordinances. So, floor is open if there's any public input to be had about those subjects. If there's no public input for the public hearing, we'll close that and then we'll open our regular scheduled meeting in just a few minutes.
Oh, yeah, they are. They won't be cheap. Side of us. Well, we're getting 40% off. That's great. Also, there, say $100,000. Yeah, they got it appraised.
I was like, okay, I'm just saying.
Good investment is what it means. He said, we can't make the tax on it. The one thing that
Somebody's gonna talk to
let
us
your
about
farm when they go ahead and six tracks. We ended up go down 5 and 6, ordered us all. Man, there'll be one that probably won't be as bad. It's just a funny feeling. You know, you don't get a whole chase in the Of course, I said my first car, $3,400 window. Pretty well already home. You can't hide. Over 100. Everything shifted gears. It's third year. Forward Jim Crush. You feel like we're going to just about to it's third year. Back years ago,
Look like they want to vote for him.
Me and Tommy started the same salary, graduated. He started at the bank. He started at
So you're gonna do all that?
Oh, I feel a lot of that.
I don't care what that.
I would hope so.
I'll try. He's giving me
Sure.
Any ruffles, any stuff. There might be a lot of that.
Very similar. Well, I couldn't understand.
All right, if I could get your attention, please. We'll go ahead and get our regular May council meeting called to order. We'll have our opening by Sheriff Tyler Hatfield, our Pledge of Allegiance by Jimmy Hammond, and our invocation by Gerald Burnett.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray.
Father, we thank you for the blessing of this life. We thank you for Moore County. We thank you for all of our elected officials, for this council, for our citizens. Just thank you for all the wonderful things we have here. We pray that as a council, we will look to you for guidance and that you'll give us wisdom and strength and courage. Help us to be open and honest. Help us to be supportive of each other. Help us to care for this wonderful land that you've given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, Ms. Lacy, if you could give us roll call, please.
Robert Bracewell.
Here.
Darrell Richards.
Here.
Marty Cashin.
Here.
Arvis Bobo.
Here.
Bradley Dye.
Here.
Shane Taylor.
Here.
Amy Cashin.
Here.
Jimmy Hammond. John Taylor.
Here.
Gerald Burnett.
Here.
Dexter Golden.
Here.
Douglas Carson.
Here.
Houston Lindsay.
Here.
Peggy Sue Blackburn.
Here.
Greg Gwynn.
Here.
Okay, full house. We do have a quorum. Should have received in your packet the minutes from last month's meeting. Entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Okay, I got Shane down there with the motion. And I hear Jimmy over here with the second, although I did hear you too. All right, so at this time, we, as far as I know, do not have any public comment. Anyone who reached out to the mayor's office asking to speak on a certain subject at this meeting, so we'll go on to elections and appointments. Actually, I do have a couple of things we need to add. We need to add Sandy Lewis as notary bond and Marcia Manley Hale as notary public, so that will be 5 and 6 under election and appointments, so we'll add those. Is there a motion to add those to the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
So we have a motion, is there a second? All right, Marty, take a second. Any discussion?
Who was the second? Marcia.
Marty,
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry, Marcia Manley Hale. Sandy Lewis is notary bond and Marcia Manley Hale is notary public. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now, under elections and appointments, we have Terry D. Gregory, notary public, Cody Gass, notary public, Brittany Burton, notary public, Marcia Manley Hale, notary public, and Sandy Lewis, notary bond.
Make a motion to approve all.
Thank you, Shane, with the motion to approve all. Is there a second? Ms. Peggy Sue with the second. Any discussion?
The number 3 on there, we supposed to omit that?
We'll do that in a second. Yeah.
I just,
Don't get ahead of me here, Brian.
well, it was in the middle.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, going back to number 3, which was approve the library board. Although I don't remember seeing who those people are. You have it? Okay. Thank you. So we have Margaret Gold, Heather Hill, Sierra Holder, Joshua Lane, Angelica Lightfoot, Patrick Maynard, and Matthew Miller for the library board. Is there a motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Robert with the second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to new business, we have some budget amendments that we need to have approved. Mr. Budget Chairman, would you like?
Yeah, we have several. I hope you've had a chance to look at them. I'm not necessarily going to go down each one of them and talk about it, but if the department head is here can address these. Most of these were reimbursements for services provided, like the old barrel and training that we had, and stuff that was in the budget that we needed to clean up. So if you have any questions about any one of these, speak up. We'll take those. But
Need a motion.
I make a motion we approve the budget.
No, second.
Okay. So we have a motion from Mr. Gerald and a second from Bradley. Any discussion on the budget amendments in your packet? If not, Ms. Lacy, we'll do roll call, please.
Greg Gwynn,
Yes.
Peggy Sue Blackburn. No. Houston Lindsay,
Yes.
Douglas Carson,
Yes.
Dexter Golden,
Yes.
Gerald Burnett,
Yes.
John Taylor,
Yes.
Jimmy Hammond, Amy Cashin,
Yes.
Shane Taylor,
Yes.
Bradley Dye,
Yes.
Arvis Bobo,
Yes.
Marty Cashin,
Yes.
Darrell Richards,
Yes.
Robert Bracewell.
Yes.
So 14-1, those carry.
Another item requested from the sheriff's office for Parks and Recreation is to buy 2 commercial mowers for mowing the parks, and evidently those are in bad shape. I don't know if you guys want to talk about this or not, but planning on using.
There's no, I'm sorry, there's no paper
There's no
for
paper on it.
this. He's just telling you about it.
Yeah, and so they requested that we approve buying 2 mowers for them to use to maintain the parks. Those are about $15,000 each. We'll take it out of capital projects budget, and the money's there to support it, so.
Got a motion.
So is that your motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that. Bradley second.
I'll second.
All right, thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Any questions?
The tractor that they have, does it not have a mower attachment? Or is it garbage down too?
You can't drive it on the ball fields.
It does have a mower, and it greatly helps and decreases mowing time. The problem is we're down to 1 other mower with the ball fields and the smaller area and the creeks and all the places the tractor won't go. And the mower that we have is 12 or 13 years old, uses a quarter oil a week, and it's on its last leg. That goes down, we're down to just the tractor and mowing everything that we mow. We know from the years past, the study or the quotes we got from the potential of hiring somebody to do all this mowing. It's a small price to pay to keep mowers there for us for the next 10, 12 years.
And you guys, the prisoners, they mow, right? So we're taking advantage of that.
We're fine with it.
What type of mowers is gonna be that's $15,000?
They looked at 2 different ones, a Hustler and a Toro. These are commercial mowers, not your home variety, so they'll last longer. They should last a lot longer.
How much is a Hustler?
They're both about $15,000 each. They're within $100 or so of each other. One of them's got a setup fee. They'll get the best deal for us, but they're about $15K.
Where are we gonna get the money to pay for
Capital projects,
them?
money's already there.
I've not heard a good thing about Hustler. I've heard they don't last long before, my opinion. I'm done.
It's widely used in commercial, and I think it's the mower that Jack Daniels uses now and has for several years. They're comparable to each other.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Ms. Lacy, if you'll do roll call for us.
Robert Bracewell,
Yes.
Darrell Richards,
No.
Marty Cashin,
Yes.
Arvis Bobo,
Yes.
Bradley Dye,
Yes.
Shane Taylor,
Yes.
Amy Cashin,
Yes.
Jimmy Hammond,
Yes.
John Taylor,
Yes.
Gerald Burnett,
Yes.
Dexter Golden,
Yes.
Douglas Carson,
Yes.
Houston Lindsey,
Yes.
Peggy Sue Blackburn,
No.
Greg Gwynn.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 13 yeses, so that passes. Okay, moving on, we do have 2 cardiac monitors for surplus from the EMS.
Just did roll call.
So 2 cardiac monitors declare as surplus. Is there a motion to declare those surplus?
I'll make a motion to declare the surplus.
Okay, Douglas with a motion. Is there a second? John for a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? We also have for surplus some equipment from the fire department. Should have a list in your packet for that. Is there a motion to declare this equipment as surplus? Houston, the motion. Is there a second? Shane, with a second. Any discussion?
Have we replaced any of this equipment? This seems like a lot. Oh, there you are.
We don't. Sure?
Yes, most of it, we're in the process of replacing air packs. Below that number of air packs, we're actually making money on that because that was given to us, outside source. And I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Thank you. All right, if there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay. We also have a surplus for a 2007 Kenworth garbage truck. Is there a motion to approve that as surplus? John with the motion. Second, Ms. Peggy Sue. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Moving on to Frontier Day closures, you should have a letter explaining what they are requesting for closures for Frontier Days from the chamber. It's a partial square closing on Friday and then closing the square on Saturday. Is there a motion to approve that? Ms. Peggy Sue with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Shane with the second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Could not find it. Okay, so we have a jail inspection report.
So I stood before you all a couple months ago, maybe January, gave you kind of an update on some of the things we were facing in the jail. Since then, we have been re-inspected by our governing body, and because of the fire suppression system, the hood vent that is over the stove, it's been inoperable for some time. That's part of what I briefed you all on. They did fail us on that jail inspection, so we're in talks with OLG. We've been working with them on getting some drawings and things done so we can get plans at least to fix the jail. We have some, I told you about leaks in the roof. We bid that, put it out for bid in the paper. We did not receive a bid for that repair. So our plan is to try and wrap everything into one package if we proceed to go through it. If we don't, at some point we'll have to fix the roof. We slowed it as of right now. We don't really have any major issues, but took a lot of Flex Seal tape and caulk to try and get it to where it will at least slow down. The big problem is on the entirety of the roof. It's been installed for about 20 years, and screws, the rubber grommets are backing out of it. It's causing leaks throughout. So really and truly right now, that's the gist of it. We get re-inspected around the 25th, 27th of June. If we do not have some type of plan in place for repair, at that point they would decertify us, and that causes other issues with housing plans. So we are on kind of a deadline to try and get some things done. We've got some drawings right now. We don't have a final decision. We're still working with them to try and fine tune some things, because if we're gonna change anything, there's a couple things that we're gonna have to come up to TCI standard on by altering that floor plan. So we're trying to incorporate those as well. But as of right now, that's where we stand. Coming from speaking with the architect and the engineer that was on site on Thursday, trying to get an estimate or an estimated number out of them of what we're looking at, they not willing to really put forth anything. All they would really say is kitchen equipment is expensive. So that's really where we stand. I hope to have more detailed information for you at the June meeting, and we'll go from there. Same thing as what it's on.
One thing we kind of talked about doing this fix is probably just doing a loan to fix it, amortize it over maybe 12 years, not extend it out too long. We don't go live over our equipment and stuff, take it out of debt service. It's kind of the plan that we were looking at. When we get more involved with the dollar amount, it'll tell us kind of where we stand a little bit more, but that's kind of the route we were discussing now.
It's going to be more than it's going to be a sizable repair. Just full transparency.
Will we have that information prior to your re-inspection date?
I don't know. Really, I don't. If we can get, because of the timeline and the crunch on the timeline, I highly doubt it, because I think we would have to bring plans back to the council for approval if we're altering anything, and then we would have to open or bid out the scope of work, which is going to take a few weeks just for the bid process. So the answer is maybe, but it's going to be a time crunch.
So what do we anticipate happening then?
So once we'll know more by June at least on floor plan, and we've still got some phone calls to make with TCI, which is the governing body for our jail. Hoping that we can get a little bit of grace, because it's not just a singular issue, it's a multifaceted issue, with it being the kitchen plus the roof leak. And if we can kind of get everything into one package, I'm hoping they'll give us a little bit of grace, but we'll see. So I mean, that's the best answer I can give you at this point.
So if they decertify this, though, what happens? Can you give us a bullet or two of what happens after that?
It's if they decertify us, the reimbursement for housing state inmate stops. will not pick back up until we are re-inspected, or the scope of work is completed, we're re-inspected, and they give their stamp of approval. So we would be footing the bill for everybody, everyone we're housing. There's potential for having to ship inmates out. I don't think we would get to that point, but it's always a potential. And if it comes to that, then we would be shipping them to agencies around us, and we would be footing the bill for that. So it's, I mean, this is an issue.
It goes back to the same issue we talked about before. If we don't have it, then we get to pay others to
Exactly.
take them in.
Exactly.
Is that the inmates that were taken in from other counties already? Or you talking about just inmates from Moore County?
That's inmates from Moore County, yes.
Any other questions for Sheriff? Thank you.
How many county inmates you got?
We're housing about, I think we had about 12 state inmates as of today. Would be somewhere in the range of 18. We have a dorm full of pretrial misdemeanors right now. And we're doing our best to work with the DA's office to get those cases in, but we've had several that have been put off for the next month, 2 months, which is increasing the date in which we can get a sentence, which keeps them in our custody longer. So we're kind of at the mercy of the court in a lot of ways.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We will have our first reading of the 25-26 budget. So, Mr. Budget Chairman, would you like to?
Well, in your packet, you got a listing of all the things that we looked at from the budget committee. The rate that we agreed to was 18239 for the county land, and 18317 for the urban service rate. Since that time, Chad came in with an update for the school system that reduced some of the requirements there. And the motion that I'll make to get our discussion started is a rate of 1.7812, which is for the county. And that's my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to set the tax rate levy at 1.7812. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Houston with the second. Okay, discussion, any discussion?
I'll go first. So we're looking at a 34% budget increase for the school. And going through, we've got a couple of questions for the superintendent. So the tuition, it's categorized, it's 43511, tuition regular day students. That is out-of-county students that are attending our schools, correct?
That's correct.
And the school board just upped the tuition to 400 per person, or maintained it at 400. So doing the math, per student, now this was 2023 enrollment, said 901 students is what we had. And so the county is paying $3,761, so $3,800 per student. And then we're charging $400 per student for them to come from out of county. Are there additional funds being given by the state or federal government that are making up for that, or is the county having to eat?
See, the way our policy is set up is that when a non-resident student applies to attend our schools, we look at class sizes first. They submit, we look at their discipline, we look at their attendance rate, we look at their grades, we make sure we're getting good students. But if we don't have room in that class that they would be coming into, we turn them away. And so the way you look at it is, we've got a classroom set up for 20 students with a teacher, 20 textbooks, 20 Chromebooks, all the things for 20 students, but our resident students, we only have enough for 15 kids in that class. We've got 5 empty seats that we've already paid for. And so every one of those non-resident students that come in, we charge them a little. It offsets printing, copying, things like that. But they're coming into a seat that we've already paid for with a teacher and all the materials. And so the state dollars that comes with that student, like right now, I can't quote the numbers, the number of non-resident students that we have right now, but I know that we looked at it when the board was going through and looking at the tuition for next year, and it would cost us in state dollars over $400,000, close to $500,000 of state funding to turn those students away. And so it's set up in that it doesn't cost us more because we're not going to accept students that we're not already prepared for those seats to fill. So I know people look at it like a drain on our resources, but it's actually a revenue stream. And that's why most school districts, I shouldn't say most, a lot, because I don't know the number, a lot of school districts across the state don't charge tuition at all. There's only a handful in our region that charge tuition, and our tuition rate is lower than some and higher than others. And so when you look at our non-resident students in that tuition line, that's a little money that comes in, but the state portion of that, out of the $7,200, the state portion of that is more like $6,800 that we receive per student for a classroom we already have set up for that number of students. We turn students away all the time, especially at elementary school. High school is a little different. Class size regulations are larger, and because in our high school, the teachers have to be certified in a specific subject, sometimes we end up with smaller class sizes than we would want, but we have to have that teacher certified in that area. And so the high school, 7 through 12, they're able to take in more non-resident students than elementary school.
So in your email, you said you lost money through TISA. From just going through and looking at it, we lost that money because of the 37 students we lost, right?
Depends on which time you're talking about. In that first round of TISA, the problem with it was, and we had to come in and do a budget amendment with all of you and had a big explanation of what we had to go through, is originally when TISA was being formed in the legislature, we were one of a handful of systems that were going to lose funding based on the new formula. So I was surprised when our estimates started coming in February that we weren't losing money, we were actually gaining a little under TISA. And each month as those came in, I felt good, I felt better, because we're not going backwards like we had been told we might. Y'all came in, there was a special called meeting to have the third reading of the budget in June, got everything passed. On July 7th is when I received a letter saying, oh, you qualify for the hold harmless provision. State law says if the TISA formula was going to be less than what we received the previous year under the BEP, that the state would allocate additional funds to make up the difference. When it got into the State Department, for whatever reason, their way of making up those funds was they flipped back to the BEP, reduced the state allocation by $389,000 and increased the local by $399,000, over a $10,000 difference between the BEP and TISA. And so that was the first initial shock. That took that $400,000 out of our fund balance that we would have to help with this now. But yes, as we go through now, my understanding is that hold harmless provision won't kick in. And if we lose students, we lose funding there. which kind of goes back to the non-resident student thing. If we can bring them in and get state funding without having to add teaching positions in the process, it bumps our TISA numbers up as well.
What's the total amount needed to cover the mandate?
To cover the teacher salary increase. If we go
Total.
to the 50,000 minimum,
Yeah.
that's going to take over 400,000. Okay, but you got to back up and understand that this mandated salary increase started 2 years ago, and we have been going through under our tax rate, trying to make it work for 2 years.
But my point is, to get it where we need it at 50,000 for the 26-27 budget, it's a little over 400,000.
Right.
So let me say this. With this presented budget, I don't have a problem with that. Because if we're looking at $450,000, you subtract that from what's being asked for, you're still talking about $750,000. That's a problem I have, not the teacher. To me, this budget is not about teacher increases, it's about everything after that that's being asked for. That's not the bulk of this.
But we're not adding to, I'm telling you, we're not adding to,
No.
because we have used our fund balance to provide these raises over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And the fact that we usually survive on the growth on the penny. And we're conservative in our spending, so, you know, when we put this budget together, when I put this budget together and present it to the board, you know, I'm underestimating revenues and overestimating expenditures, so that in the end, we come out to the positive. And I've gone back and looked at our fund balance from when I started, and we got 17 years of data. 11 of those years, we were able to add funds to our fund balance, and 6 of them, we took funds out. But in those 6 years that we took funds out, we fixed a football stadium that had been condemned. We put up baseball and softball lights. We put ballistic film on all the first level windows of both schools. You know, we have managed and taken care of and tried to work within our tax rate.
Right, but I'm trying to simplify this in saying, take everything else out, everything else aside, but the teacher mandate, which is nobody's fault in this county, it's the state. It's your representatives did that, not us, not you. The state did that. Now they're wanting to renege on it. So there should be, and I've got an email from Mr. Mars, Representative Mars, saying last week he approached the state head of Department of Education and asked him to get personally involved in this last week. So that's saying there's something amiss here.
Yeah, well, he did that on our behalf earlier.
Yeah.
He and Steve Shane Reeves.
Right.
And they put me on the telephone with the chairman of the finance committee of both houses, and the document that I shared with this body during the whole TISA issue, every person that they put on the phone with me, I asked them, have you read what I've sent out? And they said, I'm looking at it right now, and based on what you've written here, this doesn't seem right. But then when they get on the phone with somebody at the State Department, they explain it away. But what the other part of this budget that you're concerned about is this. If we go back 7 years, over the last 7 years, we've had 29 students score over a 30 on the ACT. We've had 11 students that have had perfect scores in at least one subpart, and most of them multiple subparts of the ACT. ACT starts in kindergarten. And so the rest of this budget, there's not anything new in it besides the textbooks and the school bus and the raises.
I'm not talking about just yours.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's just maintaining what we've got and the momentum that we have in the school system and the academic performance that we are achieving now. Last school year, and Marshall County does a great job with this, of pulling all our region's numbers together from test scores, and they compile them and they compute it out and have a final score. And last year, other than Manchester, which does not have a high school, our school district ranked top in our region. Think about the school districts around us, and we ranked top. And that I can reproduce that, but I can bring you a copy of what Marshall County put together that shows that. And so the rest of this budget is simply trying to maintain what we've been able to accomplish over the last several years. The 29 students that have scored above a 30 on the ACT in a 7-year period. I'm not saying we didn't have people before doing that, but I would bet you'd have to go back and use a longer stretch of time to find the 29 students that scored that high. Our teachers and our administrators are really knocking it out of the park right now and only want to improve on that. And this budget doesn't go above and beyond, what we've been doing. We have suffered a series of unfortunate events over the last couple of years that have put us backwards from, the penny on the tax rate. And so we're not, I'm not asking for a lot of extra teachers. I'm really asking to be able to keep what we've got and to keep the momentum that we have as a school district right now. That's what this budget is about.
I don't think anybody on this board, and you kind of pitted us in a bad spot by playing on emotion here. We're not here to say you guys aren't doing a good job. Doing a heck of a job.
Okay.
But we have to stand back and look at it from a different perspective. If I'm on a job and I start losing money, I've got to decrease my people. I've got to look at it a different way. As a board, I feel like that's what we're saying. You haven't showed us, and I get what you're saying, but if you look at some of these numbers, you're really kind of top heavy, and you wanted to compare it to other school systems. We're a little bit above them in several categories.
In what?
In your expenses, in your principals, your assistant principals. The numbers on the state are not anywhere close to what we've got. Not saying that's a bad thing.
I would love to know where you're getting that data.
Well, it's accessible. So I'm just saying, there's no need we're here to make I've had as many emails and calls from citizens that can't afford to go up on this tax. So we get it. We're proud of our schools. I got a grandson. I had school kids go here. I went to school here. Give more than I should to the football. Any program that asks, I give to it from my business. But we've got, I've had, like I said, I've had as many calls against it, and I see it. The mandate, it does suck, but, it only requires on this paper the base one as the new law. Okay, I'd like to see that. So it doesn't say anything, and you guys do a heck of a job. I'm new to this board. This is my 3rd year. Got one more to go, but a lot of other departments only go to 20 years. We're going to 30. That's a good perk, in my opinion, to keep people here. Appreciate that. That's from our county, but I just wanted to say, anyway, these 15 votes, it has nothing to do with us not supporting the school system or the county. We just took and I urge anybody to run for this because it is tough. I love all you guys. This is my county I live in. But as a whole, we got to look at the whole story.
I have not put anything out that didn't ask for everybody to be respectful here. So,
I agree.
That's what I put out. The teacher salary schedule that we have now, and I shared that information with you, and I shared copies of every other system around us, teacher salary schedule, and we're lower than all of them.
Always have been.
That's not the case.
So Chad, one of the questions that I've been asked, and is can you provide something or some data that shows that we're not overstaffed in terms of administrative staff or teachers or whatever? Based on the number of students, ratios, things like that, what metrics can you show us that?
I can bring information, off the state website that shows that, according to, if you compare us to some districts, we have an extra administrator in a place or two, but in other districts we have fewer. The data that you can pull down off the state website, you could use to argue either way. I know that in some systems they may only have one administrator at an elementary school, but they've also, instead of having an assistant principal, they also have an extra nurse or an extra counselor or a social worker, or there's some other body that fits in there that doesn't go into that administrator slot. So if you're going to compare apples to apples, we're going to have to really go and look at, okay, there's only one administrator in that school, but how many other bodies are there instead of a second administrator?
Could we see that data from 2 decades ago? What we had then versus student population versus administrators now?
The data that on the state website goes back 20 years.
Do we have any of that information locally?
I've been here 19 years now. I might could find.
Because that would be the best comparison for anyone saying that we've got too many administrators now, whereas we didn't used to.
Education is
and
vastly different now
yeah,
than it was 10 years ago.
there are new
Less
mandates
20.
and new personnel that have been brought in. Yes, but that could be accounted for as well as to when they were hired.
That's going to be hard to go back 20 years. Having good information.
You don't have a mine shaft somewhere to get it stored in?
It would take a lot of time to
Do
do
the
that.
assistant principals, do they still teach a class?
No, ma'am.
Because when we were in school, well, not everybody here, but the assistant principal took over if the principal was out. And they taught a class. They had a class of their own. So, I mean, would that be something that would help if you went back to something like that? Because, you know.
I can assure you that our administrators have their hands full without having a class.
The kids are that bad?
A lot of different, when you were in school, when I was in school, teachers were not evaluated every teacher every year, and the documentation that has to go with that. There's so many things that are different. You've got to have hands to do it. You've got to have people to be able to oversee those things and
I
complete
know
those
when the
tasks.
teachers got tenure, when I was going to school, it was like bonus, they didn't have to do nothing no more, so.
Tenure's a little different now too, in that it's based on test data. And even after you gain tenure, you can lose it now if your test data goes backwards for 2 years in a row. So that's
Well, that's a good thing. That's a positive.
Chad, I was going to ask a question, and I know you know the answer to this, but would you go out on a limb and say that we have more students now within our school than we did 20 years ago?
Than we did 20 years ago? Yes, but it's not a huge number.
But there is more, there is an increase there. So if there's more positions there to help that, I mean, not to use this, but it does take a village, and I've been in there multiple times, and an assistant principal could be helping out in any aspect, no different than the principal. So I understand that there's going to be 2 of them, and I don't know if they can necessarily go after teaching a class with trying to run that school with more things going on, more state requirements. And I could be wrong on that, but that's the way I would view it. The books that's needed in this, I mean, that's what helps them teach these kids what they need to know. The kids is the future. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons we sit here, and I understand you need to take emotion out of it. But I think every one of those teachers sitting out there tonight are here for those kids, not just for themselves. The books alone, I get it, $75,000 in books. If they do not have those, and the test scores reflect upon that, what does that do to us down the road? Some of the questions there. If we don't look at buying a bus this year, you may be stuck buying 2 buses when you do need them. Now, I know there's more in that y'all are talking about other than salaries, but you start cutting one thing, when does it
I
stop
would like to
on
make
that?
a general statement. I think we need teachers, and I think that everybody can tighten their belt, and we can get this number to a manageable number for our elderly people that are on a fixed income. If you figure one elderly person draws $1,000 a month, and they gotta pay taxes, they gotta pay gas for their car, they gotta pay doctor bills, they gotta do electricity, water, and just live. They can't go nowhere because they ain't got no extra money. They're just a few dollars from eating cat food, if you wanna get down to it. So my whole point is, I think everybody should tighten their belt. I think that you do an awesome job with your budget, and I think you try really hard. But everybody, every entity has got to try hard too, to make this work for the people that are in this community, that is created the community. And our fathers, our mothers, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents, we have to think of them also, not just the children. That's all I'm getting at. We've got to tighten our belt. We can't go all up all at one time. They can get assistance to pay their taxes, but there's just so many dollars there. And I don't think it's fair to ask an elderly person to have to sell their home because we need a new car or we need this, that, or the other. Let's try to fix what we got maybe, or just tighten our belt some.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking.
So we have, thank you. Is anybody got any other questions?
Yeah,
for-
I do. Chad, is enrollment down, in-county enrollment? And if so, is it trending down? I know that these vouchers may be having an effect.
I'm not sure that vouchers are going to hit us yet. But yes, I mean, I guess over the last, if you want to go back 5 years, I wouldn't say trending down, but we're kind of oscillating a little bit. We, several years ago, and I'm probably talking about 7 or 8 even, our enrollment had trended down for several years to the point that we were down in the 700s, low 700s. And so since then, we have crept up. We're about, I think in the T's estimate right here, we're hovering around 840, where we have been up a year or two ago. And so, you know, I guess if you look big picture, 10 years, we're definitely trending up. But if you scale down to 3 or 4, we're plateaued a little bit and just kind of bobbing a little bit.
And out of county, is it pretty much what it's always been?
It's pretty standard because, like I say, if we don't have room, we turn them away. And we try to keep within what we've got in place for a classroom.
Don't forget about the homeschool too. The homeschool.
We do have more and more going homeschool, I think.
We got a lot going to there.
We're a little over 100 students in homeschool in the county this time.
Chad, you get, off our sales tax, you get 50 cents off of every dollar sales tax. Is that true? How it goes to school?
I was, it was about 40 cents prior, 40%.
Is it 40, it's 50%. And we voted down as citizens the sales tax increase that might have helped this problem. So.
I think we need to bring that back.
Yes, sales tax is 50. Right, I was thinking.
That needs to be brought back up. Let the tourists pay for some of this.
Well, it was on the referendum and it got voted down.
We need to do
Twice.
better.
Yeah. Twice.
Explaining to people what that is.
Say that every time.
Chad, currently the bill that was passed in, or signed by the governor for the 25-26 year school year required a $47,000 baseline for teachers. And the 50,000 in the 26-27 budget. How many do we currently have under the 50,000, and how many would actually fall under that 47 that would be
That kind of goes back
required?
to what Mr. Richards asked a few minutes ago, is like, the 50,000 is base, that's year 0 with a bachelor's degree. Okay, year 1, there's an additional $645 that goes on that. And then in year 6, there's another addition that goes on that, and then year 11. So I can't tell you off the top of my head how many we have. And then for an advanced degree, if you went back and got a master's, there's a minimum for the base salary there, which takes the base at 0 and adds several $1,000s on top of it for the base for advanced degree. And then you've got a 6-year mark and an 11-year mark on that. And so it's a little more complicated than just saying 50,000 or 47,000.
Well, correct.
There's other layers in there as well.
And maybe let me rephrase what I'm asking is, I understand there's a step
Right.
pay for each, year of service or experience from each teacher.
Even in that
Currently.
law though, with the minimum, there's steps.
Correct. But how many teachers right now fall under that 50,000, no matter what step they're in? How many would need to
That
be
would
even
fall
there to
under
meet
the
that
50,000?
50,000 or whatever? Because, you can't give a teacher with 5 years
I'll give you-
experience $50,000 and then give somebody coming in on the street. They're gonna have to have a raise as well. I understand that.
This is a ballpark estimate, probably 15, that are below 50. Somewhere, but that's an estimate.
Mr. Darrell, did it seem like Representative Marsh was still trying to work on this issue on the
Well, he
title?
was. I've got emails saying just that.
So my question is there was two options obviously given to the budget committee. And I've received a lot of phone calls on it as well, a lot of concerns, and everybody was respectful, and I appreciate it, that of you and your staff. But it's a hard decision we all have to make in this room. And if there's other options we could look at, I think what Douglas was trying to touch on is the minimum was 47 this year, give or take the changes in that salary there, but then next year the whole gusto, which is why I believe, Director, you put forth two budgets to look at.
I put forth two in the hopes that I wouldn't be standing here again next year.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I don't enjoy this.
And nor do I, and nor does anybody at this table. But a lot of the phone calls I'm getting now is if there's a potential for some monies coming back in, and we do all of it this year. I've had several people reach out to me on that. It's like, okay, maybe we have to go up 2 years in a row. We may have to anyway, but trying to soften the blow each way instead of doing it all at once.
And the second one that I presented was 47,250, just because it's halfway. I don't understand why we don't even go, the state law doesn't go to halfway when you've got 2 years to get there. And the difference for that $250 in that budget would have cost about $18,000. I guess what I would say to that is, even if, I had Senator Reeves and Representative Marsh on this for a while. And when you get to the State Department, it's a brick wall. It's a brick wall. And those people up there, I know them. I've been around them for a long time, and they're good people. But they say, no, this is how it was set up. And if they did, even if they did, that's still one-time money. It's one-time money that would go into our fund balance. It's not recurring. It would just be a check for this amount of money once.
And let me say, that same email, he did say in there, you worked diligently trying to get that money with them and did a good job doing that. But I also feel if the state set that up where I think it was 3 counties that didn't get the money, I'm not against getting an attorney and suing them and saying that they can't mandate us for the same reason they won't give us the money. Something, it doesn't make sense. Something's not making sense. On that again, but as I said, he really stressed how hard you guys work, and I appreciate that. But it's just a bad deal.
Spreading over 2 years means about 2 pennies less this year. It's not a huge difference in terms of the increase. We looked at it a little bit. It wasn't that much difference.
Chad, if this doesn't pass, how many teachers would you have to cut?
Our budget is 83% personnel. And so when we get into that, see, I did the numbers this morning, and I might have people in the room that remember in our leadership meeting.
It'd be quite a few.
Can you show us where those cuts are?
All I did was get the average salary of all of our certified people and divide that average salary into total difference.
So it's 16
I
teachers.
don't have cuts. I did an average teacher salary and divided it into, the amount that we're asking for an increase. So I didn't go, line by line people or anything.
What's the current?
17 teachers, if we got rid of it, would not ever return.
We can't get rid of 17 teachers and survive.
And my point.
It's not.
What's the
it's
current
not
class size, like average class size?
At the elementary school and like K through 3, we're right at 19. Maximum class and maximum average for, I think it's K3 is the grade band, there is 20. As we move up, the state mandated class sizes in the elementary school, we are right there at those class sizes as you go through. When you get to the high school, it drops a little bit per class size because of the specific license that each teacher has to have. At the elementary school, they may have a certification that allows them to teach K through 5. And so they can teach anything, any subject and everything K through 5. But when you get to high school, and we have to have a chemistry teacher, and we have to have an art teacher of some kind for a fine art credit. We have to have a biology certified teacher. There's so many specific certifications at the high school. We do have some smaller class sizes there, but we're trying to fill them with good kids from outside here. And back to even the tuition paying. Before we allow them to come in, we look at grades and attendance and discipline. And if those things are good, we accept them. Once they get here, if those things go south, we ask them to leave as well, because what we want to enhance what we already have.
And do you know how many students ride the bus on any given day on average?
About half, at least half.
We have about 600 and some odd registered ride, and we probably have, in the mornings it's a little less, probably around 30 per bus in the afternoons. And some of them have maybe 50. We got it combined, so.
When mom and dad can get them to school in the morning and still get to work, but they have a hard time picking them up in the afternoon, so we have a lot more riders in the afternoon than we do in the morning.
And the bus capacity is what, 60 or 80?
No, it depends, because that capacity is based on an 18-inch seat. And used to, maybe, we had a lot of students that could fit in an 18-inch seat, but that's not the case anymore.
I do have a question, or a couple of questions or statements. The school board is an elected position, if I'm correct, just like we all are. They're held to the grindstone on this budget just like we are, as a budget committee, as a council. Did your school board approve your budget? Did you have all 4 districts or 5 districts
Yes, sir.
approved? So, as a voting, as we all say people called us, why didn't they call our school board with concerns? Why all of a sudden are we getting the flag? Why didn't they call their school board member and say, hey, why not this, why not that? They went through it and did all they could do. They sent it to us to make the final decision, which is not an easy decision. And I'm going to say this, I have supported a lot in this community and growth. It's hard on all of us. Elderly, when my grandma was alive, I paid her taxes. I felt that was my due diligence to do for my grandparents to help them out. Y'all may not feel the same. I'm not saying we can afford to pay for everybody's. I'm telling you where I come from on the elderly part. I supported the sheriff's department in a raise to fight the criminals. And I believe I will support the teachers in the raise to help our kids.
Mr. Carroll, what did you say the difference was between the 2 budgets?
About 2 cents. It's not much difference. A penny on the sales tax, or on the property tax, is $51,419. So he said it was about 80 something, and it's about 2 cents.
Okay, Miss Lacy, I think it's time for roll call. Greg Glenn. Sorry, hold on just a second. I'm just gonna restate what we're voting for. This is first reading of the budget. We're saying the tax levy is 1.7812. Is that correct?
Which is an increase of how many cents?
22.
Greg Gwynn,
No.
Peggy Sue Blackburn,
No.
Houston Lindsay,
Yes.
Douglas Carson,
No.
Dexter Golden,
Yes.
Gerald Burnett,
Yes.
John Taylor,
Yes.
Jimmy Hammond.
No.
Amy Cashin,
Yes.
Shane Taylor,
Yes.
Bradley Dye,
Yes.
Arvis Bobo,
Yes.
Marty Cashin,
Yes.
Daryl Richards,
No.
Robert Bracewell.
No.
So we have 6 noes and 9 yeses, so it does not pass.
So what's the nose? Can I ask, what's the nose? What's your proposal?
Find a way. We've got four buses that weren't being used, and the proposed salary increase brings what the annualized equivalent to $62,500, which is well over 50% the average median income in this county. This is what happens in a bureaucracy when all of your employees are funded by the government. Like, they're all getting paid more, right? They're working 200 days a year. The average person works 250 days a year. And I understand, like, that's their field, that's what they chose to do. But when you annualize that, it's way more than the average citizen makes. And all we do is squeeze the citizens for more money. It's a 3% raise seemingly every year that the people that are paying them don't get. Like, it's unfortunate. No one's saying that they're doing a bad job or that they don't deserve more money. But it comes at the expense of everyone else. And it's about time
So I
for
think we're
someone
gonna
else.
stay on topic about what we propose as a solution for the budget and not necessarily like,
Unload.
yeah. So
Maybe
let's
school bus.
keep that as a minimum. So
take the
if
school
there's
bus off?
anybody who, excuse me, thank you. If anybody has any suggestions on what we can do at this particular moment to take action in this board for this budget, we would be interested in hearing it. Otherwise, we're gonna move on.
I think the requirement is we have to be at 47,000 this year. That's what the governor signed in as a bill. 22 cents is a lot for the county. And I don't disagree that they do not do their due diligence up there teaching our next generation. They do a great job. It's hard on some of the citizens of the county. I don't know why we can't step the tax increase up in a step instead of trying to hit it all at once.
So is that a suggestion,
It is.
Douglas?
It
So
is.
can I hear what your motion might be?
Well, I mean, more of a suggestion than a motion. I
We
mean,
can make a motion.
You're
You
asking
make
for
your,
suggestions.
Yeah,
we can-
you're right, yeah.
Suggestions, motions, you know.
I mean, I don't think that they don't set up there and not do a good job by no means.
It's not about them. I just want to know what a proposal would be to make this, what can we do? We all know, we all have our same story. I want to know what we can do. And I'm not being ugly, I'm just being honest. From the nose, that did not like the 22-cent tax increase, what can we do to get there?
I say
We
we
have to talk about this as a board, what can we
Yeah,
do?
so what suggestion?
I mean, suggesting is to step it. I mean, I think Chad put up 47,250 if I'm not correct, and it's actually over what the state mandates. About $250, I know it's not a lot. By no means, taxes are gonna cover up that $250 extra that Chad's asking. Most of that's the VA tax.
Can I make a
But-
suggestion, Megan?
Sure.
That we not tell the ones sitting in this room to make it work, because I think they've pretty much done that every day. So I don't think that's a fair statement to say, make it work. Most of them take their own paycheck money to cover supplies that's needed.
I watched my own son's test scores drop in kindergarten and first.
That's not a.
Nobody
which is
disagrees with
exactly why
that.
I'm homeschooling,
I just,
so.
I mean, we know the teachers do what they do, and nobody disagrees that they're paying stuff out of their own pocket. So, as a suggestion, I think Douglas is saying, maybe we do the halfway point instead of the whole way point, and then we expect another increase potentially next year. So what does that look like?
Even, another suggestion is, my suggestion would take the bus out for a year. We've got 2 buses in the spares up there. From what I'm hearing, we've roughly racked up about 5,000 miles on those buses this past
Would
year.
that be with the 47 or the 50?
What's that?
Would that be with the 47 or the 50? Take the bus out.
Take the bus out with the 47.
47.
We have 2 spares, currently, from my understanding and what little bit of the budget meeting that I could hear from the last one, Chad stated that there were 150, 160,000 mile buses. There's some increased fees on, inspections or annual inspections once they get up to a certain thing. But hold the bus for a year. I mean, step them up to the 47,250. And then, or I would even make a suggestion, bump them up, you know, to 47,500. Just, and then we'll go next year for the rest.
So one of the things that we talked about in the budget committee, and we would have to look and see what this amount would be, was to take the bus and do it under capital projects, the general fund, not school budget, and the textbooks for the new curriculum. And that was like 200,000 maybe, the combination of those two. Was it like 135 and 75, right?
Yeah, we were gonna put it in debt service, not.
Debt
capital
service,
fund.
I'm sorry, debt service. So if we took that 200,000 off and did it that way, and then did the halfway point for the salaries, do we know what that number looks like?
Not exactly.
You have another suggestion? Sloan, can you do that?
What? Yeah, we can buy the buses
The
on
books is the
the,
only thing I'm not sure about. The bus is a definite. Books I don't know about. I haven't called and see if that. But yeah, you could do the bus on a out of debt service on, put it on a 5-year amortization schedule, you know, you're looking at $40,000 a year payment with the debt service.
Can I make a motion?
Let me hear it.
Motion would be to leave it at the 50,000, but take the bus and the textbooks out.
So take 200,000 off, which would mean 10 cents.
And we can try to find a way.
4 cents.
We can,
200,000 off, which would be 4 cents.
yeah, roughly 210,000. If it's 135.75.
So what is your bottom number?
like 174 something.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 174, yes.
So this is minus the bus, minus the books.
We have to revise the debt
And
service.
we have to revise debt service. But the tax levy proposal 17412. That's leaving the 50,000.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a Bradley motion
I'll second.
and Dexter a second. Any discussion?
Are you gonna take any more suggestions? have to do.
I would,
You can amend the motion.
yeah, let's have discussion. We may need an amendment.
Okay, we just need to focus on the schools only. I think all departments need to go back and look at all the raises that are in there and make sure, I think there's several there that's over 3%.
No raises that I know of that was over 3%, so.
Except for elected officials, and they are mandated by the state. If we miss one, point it out.
So when you look at that, you may be looking at actuals for this year versus next year. Is that right? Is that what you're looking at, Darryl?
Yeah.
So it's an hourly rate increase, not a total dollar increase. So if they don't work the full 40 hours a week, then the actual cost for their salary might be less on this year.
I don't really want to call anybody out here. I'm trying to give anybody problems, but.
Can we not use it like that?
So that's what I was doing. Jail foreman, 47,500, 47,500, 63,000.
Yeah.
No, department heads.
I believe it's page 10.
Sometimes it's not one person. Sometimes, I'm not saying that about those. I'm just thinking, how could that?
Which line are you on?
Page 10, 4 to 10. I'm asking.
So what you're asking about is who I spoke to you before I hired her. That would be Sandy Metcalf, who is our new jail administrator. We went from a jail administrator with 2 years of experience to one with 25 years of experience. That's the difference.
So that is a $16,000 increase.
It's, yeah, I mean, we're get somebody that knows what they're doing. That's the cost of the business.
So that's not necessarily a raise for a person that's a new hire, that you had to
Correct. We had
hire
an opening
more.
in August of last year. I believe that's when she was hired. Came on around the 1st of September, somewhere in there. So she left Lincoln County to come to us.
Not even spot line.
We can still adjust the tax rate, right?
Were there did you want to make an amended proposal to the
3%.
tax levy? Okay, so right now, the motion is 1.7412 as the tax levy. That is removing the bus and the textbooks from the school budget and leaving the 50K minimum salary.
So how much dollar-wise is that?
4 cents is around 200,000.
So we're going up, how much are they asking for the tax?
18.
That would be 18. It was 22. Now we're at 18.
If you did steps on the increase on the salary.
It would be 2 cents,
So that's another 2 cents, that'd be 16.
but that's not what we have on the
That's
table
all.
right now.
But I just have to look.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be smart, I'm just saying.
You asked me suggestions. And I think that everybody should revisit their budget and turn back in.
Pause the vote.
I mean, we can't pass this tonight.
Special meeting on the Thursday.
Got a motion and a second.
We do have a motion in a second. Okay, so tax levy, we can still, right. Okay. Good point, thank you. So just as a public information, we don't decide how the school spends their money because their board approved a line item for the bus and for the textbooks. It would have to go back to them to approve. We're just saying, we're gonna remove $200,000, however it is, and so the new tax levy that we have on the floor right now is 1.7412. Just so we're clear. Thank you for pointing that out to me. So we're removing 200,000 and we're making it 1.7412 as the proposed tax levy. 4 cents coming out of what we have designated here for the school.
That's not what the motion
That is the motion.
is. For a bus and a taxi bus.
Okay.
I make the motion, we cut $200,000 off their budget, dropping the tax levy to 1.412, 1.7412 on this levy. And, that would be our tax levy, and that's my motion.
All we can do is make suggestions. Because like you said, the school board has to be the one to make the budget. We're not on a budget committee.
No,
And that's what we got.
we are proposing a tax levy.
I agree.
Yes.
And, you know.
I appreciate people who keep me straight in here, Mr. Arvis.
Well, no,
Thank you.
and I'm saying the same thing you
Yes,
said.
that's right.
All we can do is make suggestions.
Thank you. I need everybody to keep me straight.
I wasn't directing that towards you.
Yes, I need it, thank you.
No, you don't.
All right, so let's do roll call, Miss Lacy.
But it won't matter if the school board doesn't agree to it.
We can give them a set amount of money and then they decide how to spend it, yes, sir. Right?
But what about all the other people that, in this?
They had no increase over what they did last year. They didn't ask for more money. No other department asked for more pennies added to their budget. So,
So only the school asked for more money?
that's right.
That's right. Every line of this tax levy is just like it was last year, except for school.
So we have to go up because of the school, is what you're saying?
Yes. Am I misspeaking?
That's right.
I think that we should take the salary increases in baby steps.
Okay, you
That's
can
not the
vote
motion.
your way.
Okay.
You can vote.
Robert Bracewell,
No.
Darryl Richard,
Nope.
Marty Cashin,
Yes.
Arvis Bobo,
Yes.
Bradley Dye,
Yes.
Shane Taylor,
Yes.
Amy Cashin,
Yes.
Jimmy Hammond, John Taylor,
Yes.
Gerald Burnett,
Yes.
Dexter Golden,
Yes.
Douglas Carson,
Yes.
Easton Lindsey,
Yes.
Peggy Sue Blackburn,
No.
Greg Gwynn.
No.
Okay, so we have 10 yeses and 5 noes. So that tax levy passes first reading. means that goes back to school board for the 200,000 difference. Yes. All right, we will have public hearing before the next meeting, and before we have second reading.
What time do you want to set that, Madam Chair?
So, thank you. So we'll set public hearing for,
It's gonna be a long
6 o'clock, public hearing for budget.
What time did you say, Ms. Amy?
6 o'clock.
Hey, I'll get 2
before-
minutes. What's
Before
time?
the next meeting. All right, let's move on to rezoning. Just want to make sure I get the right parcel. Yeah, 26 High Street. From C2 to I1. Okay, thank you. Rezoning of 26 High Street from C2 to I1. This is map 032H, Group E, parcel 001.03. Should have an ordinance in your packet describing this. This is first reading, so we'll entertain a motion to approve that rezone. John with the motion. Second, Dexter. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, so we'll move on to approve the government capital funding. Yes,
We have
sir.
to do a public hearing on second reading.
Yes, we will.
Tell me when to do it.
6:05.
I was gonna say 6:05. No, I was kidding. I guess we'll do, you think 6:25? Close one and open the other one?
Yeah.
6:25?
They're gonna be beating down the door talking about that one.
Thank you. I think my brain is gone from all that. Okay. Approve the government capital funding for installation of water meters at 1,148,000.
Too many numbers.
There's too many numbers there. 1,148,824 is what I assume that's supposed to say instead, but little over $1 million for 10 years.
There's,
I'll make the motion.
Bradley with the motion.
I'll say.
Greg, second. Any discussion?
do we have the actual total? Because there's
I'm looking.
8 numbers there.
See, it wasn't just me. The teachers were criticizing me back there. I couldn't read a number. I don't see it in here.
It's 1.4 million, and this is the county, this is approved through the water department. All the county is the co-signer for this. It will be paid out of the water rates at 1.4 million. It's just got to get y'all's approval that y'all are the backup plan for the utility department. This is already in place, so. Kind of like car home when you was a child, so.
So a little bit about it, the water department has been anywhere from 60 to 50. I think this month we were a little bit over 40% water loss. And we've determined the meters that were purchased some time ago are losing. I mean, we literally checked it, a pencil in the meter never turns. So we're on that, Daryl and I are on that board, and with the water loss versus the new meters, we ought to make money to pay for them plus because of the water loss that we're currently losing. And then the old meters, I don't know if they're any good or not, that we can probably have to take them to a dump, but when we really did our homework on the different type meters, and these are a digital low, they're made to catch the low flow, even a drop. So the money's going to get back basically money that we're making water and not getting paid for.
And they've been proven out in surrounding areas.
Yeah, we did studies
increase their
with a
income.
lot of other counties. And another thing, the water board, we just voted to decrease the sewer rates. And we're looking at doing that another, because we realize things are a strain, and we're trying to get better systems in place to capture what we're treating and not get money for it. So that's where the meters came involved. And a lot of companies, or a lot of municipalities were borderline bankrupt and went through this program, and it really, the data really came back good on these particular meters.
Did y'all look at the original purchase of the meters that we made, see if we've got any recourse against that manufacturer?
Yeah, it was kind of a raw deal. I'm not saying anything or throwing rocks, but it was basically, here they are, we have no recourse, and just is what it is.
Do you remember it's like 1.4 or 1.1?
I think at the total end, I think it's around 1.4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So probably one too many ones on there. Miss Lacy will make
Yeah,
sure
but
she
it
has the right number when you get the minutes.
Pretty sure it was close to 1.4 or something. I think that would be that.
Okay. Satisfactory?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Do we have to do roll call on that since we're just the sub signer? I got one going yes, one going no. Flip a coin.
Call it that way you say.
Let's just do roll call just to be sure. That way nobody can.
Greg Glenn,
Yes.
Peggy Sue Blackburn, Houston Lindsay,
Yes.
Douglas Carson,
Yes.
Dexter Golden,
Yes.
Gerald Burnett, John Taylor,
Yes.
Jimmy Hammond,
Yeah.
Amy Cashin,
Yes.
Shane Taylor,
Yes.
Bradley Dye,
Yes.
Arvis Bobo,
Yes.
Marty Cashin,
Yes.
Daryl Richards, Robert Breslow.
Yes.
That passes. Okay, next item is our TCRS for elected officials. You show me you have something on there? Yeah, yeah. There we go. This is something that we have to do every year around budget time. It sets our minimum employer rate. You should have a paper in your packet. Entertain a motion to set that we're doing the minimum employer rate for the TCRS.
I'll make a motion.
Houston, motion. Douglas with the second. Any discussion? If not, is this a roll call? Is this one a roll call, you think? Just all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Also. Okay, so second reading then of rezoning of map 042, parcel 031, from A1 to R2. This is second reading. A motion, is there a second? Marty with a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We also have the apartments moving from R1 to C1. This was last meeting, we were moving apartments from R1 to C1. Townhomes and condos were staying residential. So the second reading, is there a motion to approve second reading? Peggy Sue with the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Houston with the second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then we had the apartment size, double, and the number of units set to 4. This is the second reading where we were doing the size and the number cap for apartments.
I make a motion for the second reading.
Okay, Mr. Arvis with the motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Peggy Sue with the second. Any discussion?
I've got a question. So what do we mean when we're capping it to 4?
That should be 25 was the original.
So,
Robert? Yep, 25, yeah.
Yeah, that's the language in.
Yeah, my note says 25. I was going off of what was on the agenda.
so we're saying, what are we saying is a parcel?
What parcel
is it? So if it's a 2 acre, we can put 25 on there, or if it doesn't,
It fits it with the square foot.
Say that again.
If you got 10 acres, you can still only do 25.
If that parcel is one parcel that you have, if it's not split up, if they have it under one name, that one parcel of land.
I was just trying to hear what he had to say, I couldn't hear.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody, was to have a 5 acre tract of land, and say, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, forgive me, if it was able to get 27 apartments on it, the cap would apply to them at 25. If they could get 27 by the square footage they have, yeah, I mean, it might not be 5 acres, just throwing that number out there, but the cap would apply to them at 25. Now, if they had 20 acres and they said, okay, I'm gonna take 5 acres of it and make this apartments, then they would come and break that off of their plat, rezone, go forth with that. Or if they want to go forward a few years from now, they would have the remaining 15 acres they could develop on that if it was to be rezoned. And you'll look in your paper, the new numbers that we came up with are in there.
I told Dexter, they do a phenomenal job. I appreciate them, they do a lot of work, they do a lot of good work, but looking at this now, thinking about this on the budget, I'm starting to think, I know everybody wants to keep Moore County small, but I'm starting to think.
And you can't limit growth and then.
We need
expect-
revenue.
Expect taxes to not go up.
Everybody's gonna agree we need revenue. Everybody can agree, we need revenue. We need to.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that, so they know I'm not, they do a good job, I just,
Our water system can't support it, we're at 80%.
It's a double-edged
I
sword.
have a question.
It's a double-edged sword with the growth. I mean,
Yeah, it's not like we're saying they can't put it, it's just trying to make it so they don't take over the whole place, is the way I gathered it.
right, but that's a good idea. That's-
Well, the thing is, when you've got apartment complexes, especially when you're talking about revenue, you're not bringing in the same amount in property taxes per family dwelling. As-
For schools, though.
I don't know, I think it's about flat.
I mean, you'll go right back into scenario two, putting strain on everything, not just your water, but your school system. If you have people coming in, you start building 100 apartment units, now the school is flooded with that many more.
Gotta build a new school.
It's again, a double-edged sword. I mean, I totally understand we need the growth, but what can we handle? You know, that's what we were looking at.
I don't know, that makes a lot of money. What we're talking about.
We have a motion and a second, it's a discussion.
Yeah,
I'm just making sure.
we do have a motion and a second on the size of apartments and the number of units. And I misspoke, it's 25 instead of 4, which is what's on the agenda. Second reading, motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
3.
Okay. Roll call, Ms. Lacy.
Robert Bracewell,
Yes.
Darryl Richards.
Nope.
Marty Cashin,
Yes.
Arvis Bobo,
Yes.
Bradley Dye,
Yes.
Shane Taylor,
No.
Amy Cashin,
Yes.
Jimmy Hammond,
Yes.
John Taylor,
Yes.
Gerald Burnett,
No.
Dexter Golden,
Yes.
Douglas Carson,
No.
Houston Lindsay,
Yes.
Peggy Sue Blackburn, Greg Glenn.
No.
All right, that was 10 to 5, so the yeses have it. Yeah, that was second reading, yeah. Okay, so other committees, are there any other committees that need to report tonight? If not, you should have in your packet a copy of the building permits for April. That was for your information only. We also have in your packet public guidance for ready, removable, and non-traditional homes.
We can discuss that tonight. I'm going to push this off to another night with it being so late. I'm happy to explain on it. Jimmy, help me if I speak wrong on this. We have a lot of people call wanting to purchase a permit. A ready removable will be like the Amish built houses, your mini barn storage units. State fire code does not allow them. I know Christine gets a ton of phone calls about these. I think she's having a hard time about what to tell people. We don't necessarily have anything that can stop them from doing it, other than the state saying that they're illegal, you know.
I mean, people living in them?
To live in these, yes. Not trying to get deep on that subject tonight, but, you know, we don't really have any codes per se to follow to help us push that agenda to know that it's not being a safe, livable spot. We wanted some guidance, the board wanted some guidance from this body for us, what to tell people when they call wanting to live in it. We, of course, try to direct them in the path of they're illegal by the state. No, but again, we have a continued amount of people that call for them. They're struggling, you know. we have hardships, but I don't think that we should be issuing a permit for somebody needing to live in an Amish-built house out of the liability on the county if something were to happen.
Are you saying that Amish don't build to code?
Any ready removable, and I say Amish because that's the first one comes to my mind out here on 129. They build them, you know, you can see them at Lowe's. Or you can
To our
see them-
knowledge, they don't even get an electrical inspection.
Yeah.
You're
They're-
talking about
they're-
the.
Like storage
garage-
shed.
storage
Yeah,
type.
yes, yes.
And people
Oh,
living in
okay.
them.
And the state deems those not livable.
Because they do build some that are for resident, and they go through the inspections and things.
About-
But because they don't fall under modular homes.
Yeah, if it was a modular
Yeah.
home and it had state certified, you know, but this is like a mini barn per se.
I see.
And the board just wanted us to kind of come to y'all and ask y'all's opinion of what Ms. Christine or what us as a board should maybe tell people when they come in for this. This is the direction we're going, is that it's not deemed livable. But if y'all had any input on that, we wanted to bring it
But
here.
if it's built for resident and goes through the codes inspection and it's classed under
But
modular,
we don't
then we
have,
would be okay.
we don't have codes here. Now, if it was a modular home that was built to codes, you know, that would be a different scenario. We don't have anything here to check to make sure that it's done correctly.
Question about that.
Sure.
We don't have any way to enforce it, right? Somebody wants to go live in their barn. I mean, what are you gonna do about
I mean,
it?
we have ordinances that we do try to follow. We don't, you know, yeah, in a nutshell, yes.
Kind of the same concept of people living in campers in their front yard. We do have ordinances against that.
And that is more of a touchy subject there, and that's got some traction in other surrounding counties about telling somebody you could not live in a camper on your property. And I struggle with it myself. I mean, I know if it was next door to you, it would affect you different, and, you know, but it's hard for me to tell somebody that pays taxes what you can and can't live in, and especially right now, you know, times are hard. But as far as a ready removable goes, you know, again, we try to steer them in the direction of what the state does. There's a lot of calls she gets. She asked for help. The board thought this was the best decision, was to bring it here, so. Any input on that of what we should deem them, how we should do it, don't issue a permit, just completely say no. Y'all give us some direction and we can take that back to the planning and zoning.
Tell them no and go from there.
Yeah, the state fire marshal says you can't have them.
Again,
You
yeah.
can't
So
issue
what-
that permit in violation of state law at that point.
But I think it should also state somewhere in there that if it's a mini home and it was built to be a home,
Like a
and it
certificate
comes
of
in
code.
as a modular, then that would be acceptable. That would be my suggestion.
I think what they're saying is if it's got wheels under it, it's not underpin, it's considered just like a camper or removable. I mean, so if they come out and set it up, I mean, I know what you're saying. There's a whole variety of those type homes that do go through and pass and are able, but, I mean, with the state law, I've read it, it's against the law to be able to live in a mini barn or storage
I can
container
understand
or
that. I
anything
mean,
like that.
We've had several burn around here and people get hurt.
So if they lay
I
a
understand that.
foundation under, like, if they underpin it, is it then still
If it comes in
considered?
as a modular, they'll remove the axles.
I think though, if it's not built up to like building code is where they're saying it's a regular, you see what I'm saying? I can put mine and underpin it, but if it's, comes in at like 2 floors on 3 centimeters, whatever, it's not insulated.
And this even states if the structure has no electrical component systems installed at the time of transport. So, I mean, a mini barn wouldn't meet that.
Did we make a motion on this, or are you just gonna
Not
make
just,
suggestions?
it's more or less suggestion for us to take back to the board, so that's perfect. That's the direction we're going. We get a lot of, I think Christine gets a lot of pushback on that, so we can say that there's 2 bodies that are pushing us in that direction, so that helps us. Thank you.
Maybe just keep this on file to email. So maybe just keep this on file so she can email.
Yeah.
So whoever's got a question, it's not us, it's them.
Ms. Christine?
I think one of the problems is we do have some building around here that are actually building, I've not been there, don't know if they're GSC codes on, but they're actually building a house. They're just putting it in there and putting it on concrete, now, on a concrete block foundation. They put it on a concrete block foundation, and they have built it to codes. mean, I understand the mini barn thing, but there's others that's building just tiny houses that are putting them on a concrete foundation. So we need to find something here that is between a mini barn and something that actually could be built to codes, or at least by the fire marshal requirement.
Greg, do they issue certificates for like a tiny home that is built to code? Like, would y'all get that necessarily? They don't have that.
Not if there's not codes related. Now, a bank, you can get a certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
For the lending nature, that it's completed, they do their own private inspection. It's nothing through. The only way you can get that is like through Bedford County, Tullahoma, that has codes inspection.
Okay. But we don't have a codes, and, right, we don't have any real codes, and we don't have a codes inspector, so what we're talking about is not meaningful really to me. Until you have somebody that goes and inspects them and has some authority to do something, you're just writing paper, you're just wasting paper.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. But, so when somebody comes in with this permit, they're bringing me a sketch of what they're fixing to do. So I don't go out and inspect that, I'm not the inspector. So all I have to do is take their word for what they're doing. So that's why I'm saying we need to get something in place. There's gonna be some type of requirement for us, because it makes it hard if something goes through and it wasn't really allowed.
So we don't take the citizens at their word?
Nobody would buy it, Robert.
We live in a
There's only
perfect
one
world.
worldview where that makes sense.
I'd make a recommendation that they bring minimal codes. The planning commission, if they need to revisit that and bring that to us maybe again, I don't know. That would address that, right? Have another round.
You guys remember
I'll take
this
that back then.
meeting
Thank
when
you.
we're talking about needing a codes enforcer and adopting these minimum
I'm all
codes?
for
Just
it.
remember this
Build whatever
meeting.
Build whatever you want, it's yours. And when government distrusts its citizenry.
I'm not saying anything
Yeah.
about that.
Well,
I'm
I'm
just
just
saying,
saying.
when they come back in front of this body with, we want these minimum codes and we need a codes enforcer, and everybody goes, why do we need a codes enforcer? I want y'all to remember this meeting.
We will
right.
never forget it.
Are there any council members who have any questions or comments that haven't been said in this 2-hour meeting?
I have a question, quick.
It's never quick.
Yes, it is.
Can this wait till the next
Let me
meeting?
talk really fast. Our bed and breakfast, don't they need to fall under business license?
We did not discuss that. I mean, I'm happy to discuss that with the board at the next meeting and bring that back here if that's what you want us to do.
I've had several people, when I say several, more than one and less than 100, that's concerned with a bed and breakfast, not having a business license and not paying the right amount of taxes. Just concerned. Thank you.
Okay, one more thing.
No.
The debt obligation for the garbage truck.
Info on.
Info only. Thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Third, fourth, fifth.
Houston and Shane with the second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Anybody gonna stay?